The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Welcome to another episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. Intro sounds a little bit different because I am currently recording this on location at Pareidolia Brewing in Sebastian, Florida. That episode is going to be coming onto the podcast pretty soon. Just wait. We got plenty of time and plenty of other awesome interviews, but we will get them on the show finally in the very near future. In the meantime, we're going to backtrack. And if you remember our last episode, we were at Bay 13 Brewing, which is an Australian brew pub in Coral Gables, which is a little interesting. Australian and beer in Coral Gables, a very Spanish section. If you've ever been there, it's as in Spain, as in Europe, Spain. It's actually pretty gorgeous there. But they've opened up a fantastic place, and not only do they serve amazing food and serve amazing beers that the head brewer, Greg, who we met on the last episode, brews there on site, but in January, they also had the Woop Woop Beer Fest. And that was to celebrate Australia Day. And it was also their first beer festival, and it was a fantastic beer festival. Let me tell you something. Plenty of food available for purchase. There was a VIP ticket that gave you exclusive access to the VIP lounge, which was the inside of the restaurant. The beer fest itself took place on a massive expanse of artificial grass and fountain walking area. It was very, very well done. Had a great spread of breweries from around the state, not just in Miami-Dade County, obviously, but from around places that I did not expect to have actually come down here, which was pretty cool. The food inside was fantastic. They also had Australian spirits and Australian wines inside for sampling. It was well worth what the VIP admission cost was, but if you were to just have gotten the regular ticket, that would have been a great time as well. You will hear from a number of the breweries that showed up to that event. I was not able to interview everybody. That was just a little too much for me, unfortunately. I also tried desperately to get the owner of Woop Woop, but silly me for assuming that I could nail down the owner of a brewery in the middle of their first beer fest. What can I say? So the first interviews that you're going to hear are going to be from some of the breweries that I was able to speak to. In order, you're going to be hearing from Haidar Hachem from Shojo Brewing, which is a fantastic sort of gypsy brewer in Miami-Dade County. We'll probably hear more from him later on. Mejia from Motorworks, all the way over in Bradenton, came by to go to the event. Travis Prince, who's from American Icon Brewing in Vero Beach, which is fast becoming one of my favorite brew pubs. I did not expect that to happen, but they are fantastic. And Travis brought some fire with him that night. Todd Space from S33 in Brickell. We have had him on the show before. He is the founder of the Miami Brewing School, MBS, that we have in the area. So he was there with some of his beers. And Kevin Shaw, all the way from St. Petersburg, Florida. He's been on the show before. He is the owner and brewer at If I Brewed the World in St. Pete. Very, very happy to have him over for that as well. Did not realize he was a Miami native, so it was kind of cool to see him all the way back here. There's a couple interviews after that, but that's a lot of intro that I just got through, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you get to it. Enjoy. So interestingly enough, this is the first Bay 13 beer that I've had at the festival. Not the first beer I've had at this festival, but this is the first Bay 13. So what exactly is this beautiful concoction that you are pouring? As you put on your wristband.
As I put on my VIP wristband. Yeah, dude. So Bay 13 had initially reached out to us to invite us to the fest, and because we're really good friends with Greg and Cole, the assistant brewer and the head brewer. And I told him, I was like, dude, honestly, like, we'd love to, but we don't have any beer. Like, we have nothing to pour at the fest. So he was like, all right, cool, let's do a collab then. And then we can pour it at the fest. I'm like, all right, let's run it. So we landed on a fruited sour. And the fruits that we decided to pick were strawberry and yuzu. So when they brewed it, we used sour viciae for the yeast. So to give you that, like, nice lactic, kind of acidic character. And the use of both the strawberry and the yuzu give it this, well, first off, it's going to be a surprise to you because, like, once you taste it, you don't feel it, but finished off at 8%, so it's an imperial fruited sour ale.
That doesn't feel like a 6%. That feels like a 5%. That is nutty.
So yeah, you'll definitely, be careful, tread carefully when you're drinking this beer. Like all our beers, they're made to be enjoyed by everyone. And funny enough, when we were talking, flavor profile for the beer, we landed on strawberry yuzu, but there were two ingredients that they also wanted to throw in, which were lemongrass, and they wanted to throw in some peppers to make it like a spicy, kind of lemonade. And we moved away from the lemon verbena and those peppers just because, like, the first two fruits we mixed in were the strawberry and the yuzu, and it gave it this summer, Miami, it's always summer in Miami, but it gave it this, like, very refreshing summer strawberry lemonade type feel, and we didn't want to mess with it, so we kept it as it was, and No Wuckus was born.
That's kind of amazing. Okay. My daughter is asking one question because you've got your mascot who is a little scary, and you'll figure we'll do a bigger interview of the podcast a little bit later on, but can you please explain to us, who is this? And I would assume, is this a good figure?
So that is the Shojo. It's, essentially me. So yeah, it's definitely a good figure. So in, Japanese mythology, they have what are called yokai. So those are like spirits of the other realm. And there can be good yokai and there could be bad yokai. So the Shojo itself is actually a good yokai. He is they are sea spirits. So they're always hanging out by the beach or by, a body of water. And all they like to do is drink, laugh, and brew. So when Mari and I were, like, looking for something to start our brewery up, we're like, this is perfect. Like, this is us. This is me. This is who we are. So we landed on Shojo, and the one interesting fact about the Shojo, he's a vegetarian, and obviously he likes to drink. But if you are a good person, if you are able to find a Shojo, hanging out, laughing, whatever, and you approach him for a drink, if you are a good person, that will be the best drink you've ever had in your life. But if you're a bad person, it will be the worst drink you've ever had in your life. It will be toxic, and it might even kill you, depending on how bad a person you are.
That's kind of frightening. Okay, I will approach you with a little bit of trepidation from here on out. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, Motorworks Brewing. So it seems like you actually have a very large amount of beers with you today. Out of these, which is the one that you're going to crack open first for yourself?
The adaptable or lager.
Okay, which is kind of strange. It's sort of the adoptable lager seems to be the simplest of all the beers that you have here. Why go for that first?
I like an easygoing drink, something refreshing that I could drink all day long.
That makes sense. But obviously, I decided to completely ignore your request, and I went straight for the Daddle Pepper Porter, which is clocking in at almost 11% ABV. Can you give us a little bit of story on this particular beer?
So we based it on a porter. We just doubled the recipe to make it an imperial. And we added the chili peppers. Our head brewer and our lead brewer love spicy beers. So this is one of the ones that they wanted to make it, just give it like a hint of spiciness with the daddle peppers.
Which is interesting because daddle's not a pepper you see a whole lot. Everybody usually uses habanero or jalapeno or ghost pepper, something like that. Daddle being a very, not rare, but definitely very Florida-specific sort of pepper. Why that one?
They like to experiment with different peppers. So we use a lot of the habanero, we use a lot of the dado. Recently we did a Thai IPA with Thai chilies. It's delicious. It should be out soon.
That sounds amazing. And one of the things that I find amazing about Motorworks is, in terms of the popularity, exactly how popular Pulp Friction has been. Does that continue to be one of your top sellers?
Yes, it is.
Why do you think that is?
I feel like people still really like the IPA and they want something slightly different, which is where the grapefruit comes in.
That's kind of amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Okay, so American Icon, what did you bring? You brought something special for us today.
I have a 8-month whiskey barrel-aged Belgian quad. My brewmaster studied and graduated from Siebel Institute in Munich, and he's very proud of his German styles. So he did a Belgian quad that we actually don't have in distribution. We don't offer it in festivals. This is the first time that we've ever had it outside of our brewery. You'd have to drive 3 hours to find the next closest keg of this stuff.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you. You're in Coral Gables. The brewery's in Vero Beach. Neither of these are places where I would expect a whiskey barrel Belgian quad to hit with any sort of gravity, and yet here we are.
Well, a big reason for that is I live about 20 minutes from here in Edgewater, Miami, and I'm a huge barrel-aged fan. We do barrel-aged stout that I think is one of the best out there. And so when we were coming to do this festival for Bay 13, it's the first time they've ever done it. It's in my backyard. There's not a lot of really good beer festivals in Miami, in my opinion. So I told my brewmaster, his name's Jesse Robles, I said, Jesse, I want something special for this. And he was like, why don't you go grab a Light My Fryer, which is what we call this beer. And I was like, you mean the Belgian quad? He said, yeah, man, grab a keg. Let's go show out. So that is how a Belgian quad from Vero Beach, where you wouldn't expect it, wound up in Coral Gables, where you wouldn't expect it, because I like the beer.
Which is awesome, because the brewmaster here at Bay 13 stopped us just to say how much he loved the beer, which is amazing. We're not too far into the festival, but has it gotten a little bit of action so far?
Everybody that stopped by has tried it, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it, which is what you'd expect. Yeah, so far so good, and I anticipate that to keep going. We brought it for the VIP hour as a special thing, but I brought a whole keg of it, so don't tell anybody, but I'll be pouring it all night.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thanks for what you do.
So first of all, I guess it's amazing that you came with a brown ale. Brown lager. Okay, first of all, brown lager. I've never even heard of that. Is that shocking?
Well, the way that I think about it and the way I look at making beers is if my system is good for pushing out good lagers, I'm going to make a damn good lager. And so since my system is good for that, I figure every color in the world that I can make a lager out of, I'm going to do it. And brown was one of the options.
But brown is, I would say, the pariah of the craft beer industry. Nobody makes it. Nobody releases it. If you put it on tap, nobody wants it because they're all looking for the crazy, fruity, hoppy, crazy.
Right. Good point. Yet, I'm at a brew pub, and one of our key features on the menu is barbecue. And if you've got good barbecue, you have to have a brown ale or a porter or a stout and or all three, if you ask me. So I had a brown ale for a long time, but I was like, the sales were doing okay. And like I said, since my system's good for killing out a lager, let me do that instead.
But you didn't just do that. You also added coffee to it.
So I have a good friend from Guatemala. He's brewing. It's called Great Circle Coffee Roasters. They brew in Little River. My friend Sergio, I was like, what do you think about throwing some coffee in this style of beer? And we talked about a recipe together. And he roasts on Mondays. So I show up on Mondays and grab fresh roasted coffee. We tried it out as a sample, as a test run. And you just tried it, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I loved it. My wife is loving it. Now, what I find interesting is when I talk to other brewers that are using coffee, they don't just grab coffee. They take as much time and effort blending the right blend of beans as brewers do in their malts.
Right. So in this case, I just talked to Sergio. I let him do the magic of the blending. So we do have different blends of beans every time, and he'll roast sometimes a Guatemalan Peruvian combo, Colombian, whatever he's got fresh. So he does the roasting. He gives me the blend that he likes, and then I just use a mortar pestle and just crush it, throw it right into the fermenter for the last 20 hours at 0 Celsius. Comes out beautiful.
That's amazing. Now we are here at Woop Woop. I'm still trying to figure out the name behind that. And with your tenure and your time at the Miami Brewers Academy, you've spoken to and worked with a lot of these people.
Yes. I'm assuming, hopefully, everybody. As I look around, everyone wants to give me a beer. And if you notice, there's a lot of beers called like Space Jam and things like that. I think it's just a coincidence, right?
Okay, apparently it isn't. Todd, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
So I guess I will start with the fact that you are a long way from home. Why did you decide to come down for this particular event?
We got a call from Greg, the head brewer here, and we are both actually originally from here. I grew up in Miramar in Fort Lauderdale. He grew up in North Miami Beach, so kind of old stomping ground. So, of course, we love Miami, and it was an excuse to come down and hang out. So we're like, why not? And it's been great, so it's a lot of fun. So, yeah.
With a lot of breweries, they tend to treat festivals like this as a way to advertise and get people into the breweries. Obviously, it's a bit of a hike between here and there. Are you still getting some interest and still getting some people that may be showing up to try what you got?
Yes, and that was another part of it too, was to expand the reach a little bit, do a little promotion, marketing. We're doing a lot of distribution now, and we're statewide, so there's rep down here, so that was part of it too. So if they come here and they like it, they can start getting it at bars and local watering holes down here. So it made sense. And South Florida is huge. I mean, so why not try to capitalize on some of that and have some fun and have some beers. So, and everybody's been really cool actually too. It's been awesome.
Awesome. And obviously you're here with an American Ale and the Sour Stout. Are those some of the beers that you're going to be putting into distribution, or are you focusing more on your Serial Killers line, which is going to be releasing here in a little bit tonight?
The Serial Killers part, I never decided that. Everybody else did. They're the ones that want it. So, but no, we do have that. We actually do have the Bootstraps, which is American Ale. We do have that in distribution. Beer-flavored beer, lawnmower beer. The Black Raspberry Sour was just more for something different. That's probably not. That's sort of a one-off that we'll keep here. And then the cereal beers, yeah, those are always big sellers. So those are definitely in distribution. So I think Applejack's actually out right now. Crunchberry's going back out. Distro more, we have, I think, a butterbeer brown ale, too, that's out. So that one is another big hit that's been doing pretty well that we're trying to push a little bit. So yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully South Florida is going to be a good market for you.
I hope so, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So all of those breweries were available with the general ticket. They were outside. They were in the kind of main outdoor event space with their tents and so on and so forth. And there was a lot of other breweries that were there. I know Stormhouse came all the way down from North Palm Beach, had a couple of home brewers. Rocketeer was there, bringing a lot of great stuff. Just so many breweries. It kind of all starts to melt together after a little while, unfortunately. So I was very happy that we did have the VIP admission and we were able to go inside to sample some of the spirits, sample some of the wines, and obviously the food spread that they had out. With Australian food, one of the things that they really do push, and I've seen them push it in Miami-Dade at other events before, is lamb. Didn't realize that lamb was such a big portion and such a big part of Australian agriculture. And to provide excellent, tasty samples of that, they actually brought over Chef Aaron Brooks. He's the executive chef at the Four Seasons Hotel in Miami, and very happily enough, an Australian. And so this is the first time that we're actually going to be speaking to an Australian, and for 2 episodes of an Australian episode. And I know this sounds strange, but I've been talking about an Australian location for now 2 episodes, and not one single person had an Australian accent. So now here we finally go. That being said, I was not the only person to be interviewing Chef Brooks. You'll hear a different voice. That is, of course, my 7-year-old daughter, Ashlyn, who decided to be there to help me with the interview. So with her first recorded interview, Chef Aaron Brooks, joy. All right, Aaron Brooks. Well, actually, do this Four Seasons Miami.
So it's a jerk style.
All right. Ashley,
Yeah.
can you ask your question?
Okay, what do you got? No tricky questions, all right?
I'm not. Do you like being in the kitchen?
What's that?
Do you like?
Oh, I love it. I love being in the kitchen. It's all I know. I was practically born in the kitchen. My mum was a cook, and my dad was born. He worked in pubs, so hospitality's in my blood.
So with Australian cuisine, I guess I didn't realize that was a real thing. In terms of, I guess, food and trends and things, how would you define the cuisine as a whole?
The cuisine as a whole, it's a bit of a cultural melting pot. And that's really what Australian cuisine is. It's really where you grew up, or the people that you live around that really influences the food that you eat. It's a big place, but pretty much everything comes from what's on the country, right? So it's really influenced by the climate, whether you're in the coast, whether you're inland, and the cultures that influence it.
And how has it been bringing that cuisine to the Four Seasons Miami?
Oh, it's been absolutely awesome. For me, I grew up in a coastal town, on a beach town, very hot, very tropical. So for me, weather-wise, it's like a homecoming, arriving to Miami about 10 years ago. But when I got here, really being influenced by the Latin melting pot, the Caribbean, Haitian, Cuban, all these different flavors, that make the food so eclectic and exciting.
Okay, we got one more question.
Yes?
Come on.
How do you make this lamb or the beef?
It's lamb. I was going to ask, what are you serving? Because it's amazing.
This is an Aussie lamb rack. What I've done is I put a jerk rub on it, so it's a Jamaican, Caribbean-influenced dish. Served with a Caribbean-style coconut curry sauce with lots of allspice and a habanero in there. Served with some toasted cashews and coconut. It's a dish that I absolutely love. I find that lamb goes really, really well with a lot of flavour and a lot of spices, and these flavours really match up to the lamb.
And I've seen that Australian lamb is definitely something that's been gaining a lot of popularity, and it seems to be pretty versatile. Do you seem to find that as well?
I do. I grew up with it, so for me, it's a familiar flavour and something that I absolutely love. For some folks, it might take some getting used to, but all I say is give it a go. Put a bunch of seasonings on it, a bunch of flavours, chuck it on the grill, and have some fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
It was a little loud in there. What can I say? That's kind of why the volume is the way that it is. Now, there was one other interview that was recorded that evening, and I am proud to say that interview was me. And my daughter decided to go ahead and grab the microphones and put on the headphones and keep going a little bit more. And so just as a little bonus at the end of the episode, here is my interview of me coming from my daughter.
How do you like tasting all these beers at this beer festival for 5 years? I don't know how many years you've been in Beer Blog, but how do you like doing it?
I tell you, it's actually a lot of fun because I get to taste a lot of really interesting different recipes that a lot of different people have made. And so it's been kind of great seeing everybody's creativity.
So, how did you like the True Lamb and the VIP food menu?
So I loved the lamb. That was absolutely fantastic. Didn't realize that I was as big a fan of lamb as I am. And the sauce that was on there, oh, so good. Had a biryani, which was fantastic. I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. Really, really tasty, very flavorful.
Have you found any new beer places that you want to go to?
Actually, yes. There's a couple of people that I've definitely been interested in. I would love to go to Spanish Marie. They had a really cool butterbeer flavored beer. That was really, really neat, and I definitely want to hopefully get there pretty soon. S33, we just chatted with them. They're kind of Thai-flavored food, so that would be pretty cool as well. I definitely want to chat with and go there as well.
So, do you like any, bulk beers, or do you just like light beer? What I'm trying to say is bulk or light.
What was the question?
Bulk or light beer?
Depends on the style of beer, I guess. Sometimes I like a lighter beer. Sometimes I like a little bit darker. It kind of depends on what the flavors are.
If you got a butterbeer one that from the place you wanted, would you like it to be bulk or not bulk?
I think just a pint will be enough. Just the one. I don't need any more. I definitely want to try some other beers. So
which the wall over there, which one are you really looking forward to getting?
Well, they've got a Hefeweizen here, and I would definitely be interested in trying that because it's nice and light and fruity. It's got those great banana flavors. I think that would be pretty cool.
If you could go to one brewery today, which would it be? From this place.
I would love to go to If I Brewed the World because it's in St. Petersburg, and I love going to St. Petersburg, and they're right across the street from Three Daughters, which I know you like. So, yeah.
No, I meant from here. They were here? I thought you wanted Stormhouse.
I'm good friends with Stormhouse, and I like them too, but yeah, we have to go to If I Brewed the World next. So you want to go?
Maybe. If you could keep one of these foods, would it be the true lamb or the rice thing from the VIP food menu?
I'm going to say the lamb, only because the sauce that he made with it was fantastic.
Wait, do you want to hear a joke?
You know something? I'm just happy I tried them both, and let's go try some other stuff, okay?
I said, do you want to hear a joke?
Okay, tell me a joke.
Wait, I'm trying to remember one, but I can't remember it. Wait. What do you call a dino when a dino sleeps?
I don't know. What do you call it when a dino sleeps?
Dino snore.
Funny.
That is so funny.
And so there we go. Another beer festival in the books. This was a fantastic one. It was very well run, even though it was their first time. Had a great spread of beers, a lot of variety. The VIP ticket was definitely worth the admission. And you even got some bottles to take home with you, which I thought was a very, very nice touch. Next week, we are going to be starting some time in Georgia. Because I say so. This is going to be a fantastic interview, and I do want to thank some people for getting in there. But first, I would like to thank the entire team at Bay 13 Brewing for their wonderful hospitality for my entire family going out to the event, which we absolutely loved, and we definitely cannot wait to get back there again. Please make sure to follow us on social media at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter. We are at FL Beer Blog on Facebook. On the interwebs, it's very easy for us to be found. We're at floridabeerblog.com. We post all the time. In fact, I just posted before I started recording this. FloridaBeerPodcast.com if you want to listen to the back episodes. And if you're interested in more, we are a very proud part of the Florida Podcast Network, as you heard at the top of the show. You can find them at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com for all the latest information. They've got a lot of great shows that are out and coming, which is really, really neat. If you want, you can also look for their closed invite Facebook group at FPN Insiders, and that'll give you all the latest information, what's going on with the network. Our field producer is Steve Picala. Intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Executive producer for the Florida Podcast Network and Grand High Poobah is Jimmy Lagonier. This is David Butler, your host and author. We will see you next week in the wilds of Greater Atlanta. Thank you so much for listening, and drink Florida Craft.